former St. Louis Blue, New Jersey Devil, as you can see in the background, but maybe for this side of the pond, more importantly, a former Nottingham Panther. Cam, thanks for taking the time to join us on Off the Ice. And first off, when I say Nottingham Panthers, what jumps into your head?
Oh, the ye old pub that my wife and I used to go to right underneath the castle there. I think it was built in the 12th century, perhaps. We used to go to this little nook in the top room and have a couple pints and talk to the locals and just mingle around and just kind of you sat back and it felt like you're just living back in the day. It was just the little things like that we just took such advantage of, and always loved talking to the people there because there's always a story. Somebody always had a story about something. It was just so interesting, and we just loved it. We absolutely loved it.
And you know what? A lot of players come over here, ex-NHLers and stuff. They have the same sort of reaction. They love this sort of the interaction with the fans and stuff. It's a much more accessible league, the EIHL, than perhaps the NHL. But we'll come back to Nottingham. I wanted to talk about you had a great NHL career, 336 NHL games played, as I mentioned, with the Devils and the Blues. And I wanted to ask you about some of the pinch me moments of making it to the NHL, maybe your first game, your first fight, your first goal, but a few moments along the way where you went, oh, my God, I'm in the show.
Well, the first time I got called up was it's unbelievable. It's always weird. My parents are always around me when big things happen in my career. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And they were there. They came up to watch me. I got sent down in training camp in 2005. And they came up to watch a weekend game. We're playing Springfield back-to-back, Springfield Falcons in American League. And we're staying in Albany. And I went out there and I was in a little bit of trouble because I just kind of a little something I did where I kind of went out. I was a young kid. I went out night before or whatever. So I was in a little bit of trouble, put it that way. Nothing bad. I was a young kid. Doesn't matter. And so I went out there and I'm like, okay, parents are in town. I got to put a show on. You toe the line a little bit. You better go out there and do it. So I went out there and had a great game. Afterwards, I'm sitting in the hotel watching the big club, the Devils, playing against the Rangers. They're playing back to back. My dad literally looked at me because there's a kid out there named Ryan Hallwig was running everybody. And my dad looks at me and goes, you're going to get called up. And I look at him and I go, I don't know. I think they're kind of me for going out the night before. I don't think so. 5 seconds later, our coach, Robbie Fatour, calls the hotel. He goes, Cam, you're not playing in tomorrow's game. I go, what? I go, Robbie, what? What did I do? I just fought a 6'7" guy. I think I got an assist in that night. I put 3 guys on their ass. I go, what? He goes, settle down. You're not playing tomorrow because you just got called up to play against the New York Rangers and MSG. Pack your stuff and get going. So my mom and dad all come down and we take the rental car all the way down and meet with the guys. And they got to see my first NHL game at Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden is a special place, so that's a special memory, no doubt. You mentioned it there. You put 3 guys down on the seat of their pants. You fought a guy who was 6'7". Who are some of them? You played in, look, every NHL era has some tough characters, but you played in an era where there were a lot of tough hombres. Maybe tell our viewers some of the biggest, baddest dudes that you had to tangle with in your career.
Well, the biggest boys in my 10-year career, I mean, it changes every 5 years, and bigger boys and whatnot. But I'll just go down the list. Like, Brian McGrattan was a big, tough boy. Like, punch you in the face, he'll eat your punches. Throws down the pipe, can knock you out. Doesn't throw lefts, but very, very hard to deal with because he strings you out. The scariest guy for a while there, and God rest his soul, was Derek Boogaard. And if you had talked to any heavy that played from my era after 04 lockout to 2015, big Derek Boogaard, the boogeyman, was the scariest dude going. Now then you got guys that got called up here and there that didn't play, consistently in NHL, like a Steve McIntyre, who could knock you out with both hands. And then, of course, Trevor Gillies got called up, played for the Islanders a little bit here and there. He's one of the top 10 toughest guys ever, I think. Look, there's big boys cruising around, and every night you had to deal with one of them and kept you on your toes and made you become a warrior. That's for sure.
Well, let's go back to the EIHL because you mentioned you enjoyed sort of going out to the pub, soaking up some of the history of being in England and enjoying the off-the-ice aspect of Nottingham. Talk about the on-ice time with the Panthers.
Oh, well, that was the best experience, to be completely honest with you. I mean, the fan interaction and how loud they were and how they appreciate, like, toughness. Like, when I went out there and I brought energy, and they knew I was on, like, oh my God, the roar of the crowd, like, it brings that, like, I can't explain. You're floating, it's like being on stage as a rocker, and you just feel the energy, like, okay, you're mine. I got you tonight. I'm going to put a show on you for you. And even like at the end, like I'd be the last one out of that tunnel before every game, and I'd bang the wall and I'd go, I loved it. I could feel their passion, and I knew how to take advantage of that. And then you're funny with them too. I'd always wink at people. I love that. Like, I love the interaction. And not to mention, not just there, anywhere I went, Sheffield, even up to Fife, maybe there's only 400 people in the stands, but all those guys up there, they chirped me at first. Coventry, all those guys, they would be all over you. I think by the end of the year, they actually liked me. And because I was good with them, and I knew that they were on me, and I just knew how to deal with it. And I think they understand I was honest too. So by the end of it, I think I was friends with all the fans in all the arenas and rinks, man, which is kind of a rarity, to be honest with you.
Yeah, certainly. And the Nottingham Panthers, you mentioned Brian McGrattan. Brian McGrattan went on to play with the Nottingham Panthers too, as you know, so they certainly appreciate that role. Were you surprised by the level of play, aside from the physical aspects, were you surprised by the level of play in the Elite Ice Hockey League?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought I was going to go over there and toe drag everybody. No. Not even close. I didn't know. Like, I honestly didn't know anything about it except for, Brock and Jordy Fox telling me about it. And even then, I'm like, what? But then you go over there. God almighty, it was so intense. Like, it honestly wasn't intense. You're playing the same teams. Everybody respects what they're doing. Like, it wasn't no phoniness. You had your tough guys, like hardworking guys. Like, it just was fun. And everybody was passionate. And the fans are passionate. And it's a cool setup over there. And winning those trophies like that and holding it up, the last game I ever played, holding the trophy, like that just means a lot to me. Like hockey's been my whole life, and I think that was just a great, ending to what I've been doing my whole life, basically.
Well, and you moved on to the next chapter. You've been doing lots of stuff in radio, and tell folks what you've been doing since you hung up the skates.
Well, I got thrown right in the mix with radio. I was going to go over there. I know I pissed a lot of people off over there, and I'm truly sorry, but I honestly had to take advantage of the situation. I went over there just to kind of like clear my head and see what I wanted to do, but then I loved it over there, and they signed me. I'm like, yeah, but I realized that I was still delaying the inevitable. And I'm glad I retired when I did, although I would love to go over there and play 2 more years but I got 2 years under my belt of radio. So now I'm 2 years ahead of the game because I just would have delayed it, and I just had to learn so much. I got thrown in the radio business, never done radio, only did interviews. I'm awesome at, because you just blah, 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 blah. You just talk about it. Anybody can be good at being interviewed. But to interview people and to hold a topic and to host your own show and this and that and the other is a completely different animal. I didn't go to journalism school like everybody else I've worked with. I just had to learn. They threw me my own show. I had to figure it out. I am my own producer. I'm producing my own stuff. So that was a whirlwind, and I figured it out, and now I'm doing great. And then we started this podcast thing, Andy Strickland and I, and that's blowing up. And now we're monetizing that beyond belief because it's worldwide. So all these big companies are coming on now. That it's just like it's all coming so fast. But I just tried. My rules are just be yourself, and you're gonna weird out some people, and that's gonna be fine. But the majority of the people are gonna understand your humor. You've been through locker rooms and you're friends with everybody. There's a reason for that. Like, you got to think this in your head. And I just you know how to deal with people in the workplace because you played hockey. It's just so it all comes together. But the point is, it was tough to figure out this next step of life. And I'm glad I pounced on it when I did, because now I'm comfortable. Hell, I've been doing radio shows, talking about my cat for an hour and a half because there's nothing going on. So again, if you could do that, you've embraced this situation you're in with radio and podcasting, man.
Well, you mentioned the podcast, the Cam and Strick podcast. I recommend it to any hockey fan. It is brilliant. Let's talk about the St. Louis Blues, Stanley Cup champions. How huge was that for you, both playing for the Blues and doing some radio around the Blues, but just for the city of St. Louis?
Oh, well, we all became alcoholics partying afterwards. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, we had so much fun. And, I didn't play for the guys, but I grew up here. all my friends and family are diehard. Why do you think I got into it? Like Blues, everything. Our whole life. I know all the guys. I'm doing I'm doing Channel 5, so I'm doing the TV. So right after the game's over, they come right to me. So I feel like I'm part of it. They flew me to Boston. I got to go to Game 7, hang with all the guys that are sitting out that game, watch them all go down, hang with them oh my God. We partied with that Stanley Cup. And winning the cup is so unbelievable because that cup is like it's like it's a partier. Like you party with the cup. You don't just sit there and look at it. No, it's like you're holding it, you're drinking out of it. It takes a beating. You get intimate with the damn thing. It's just such a unique trophy to win. I can't even describe it. And this city, I mean, hockey blew up in this city like you can't believe. There's 3 reasons why hockey's big in this city right now. Okay, Blues started, boom. It went through a dull stage in the 70s and 80s. But then Brett Hall came, and guys like me got into hockey, this huge wave. Now guys like me started making the NHL from St. Louis. That created another wave. And then you just win the Stanley Cup, and you have multi-million-dollar facilities everywhere. Hockey is gigantic in St. Louis right now.
Well, you got me excited for my next question because we're all very well aware of the NHL's next phase, the 24 teams trying to come back to play, the trainee camps hopefully open up in July. Just tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that and how hopeful you are that the NHL is back on the ice and there will be a Stanley Cup.
Well, kudos to Gary Bettman and the boys for being like, yeah, we'll go. Do you think all the guys really want to play this thing out? Probably not. They already got paid. It's going to be weird. You're going to be away from your family, although probably some of them are like, yeah, okay, let's do this. I just think that they know what's best for the game, and hockey players seem to kind of come together when you need to, I guess, when it comes to stuff like this. And Gary Bettman, kudos to you. People in St. Louis, I don't like how people bash Gary Bettman. Yeah, we've had lockouts and a couple things. He's a businessman. We get it. Hockey's in an unbelievable spot right now. And people specifically in St. Louis complain about Gary Bettman. What are you talking about? St. Louis? Gary Bettman, you just got a Winter Classic. You just got an All-Star game. Now you got another Winter Classic against Minnesota. Like, you got beautiful rinks everywhere. He comes to watch. Like, people in St. Louis looking at Gary Bettman should be like, yeah, tip of the cap to you, sir. But, yeah, they're the front runners. They're like, no, we need to do this. And I think the guys are going to suck it up for a month, 2 months. And some of them will suck it up for a week and get knocked out. And the rest will have to drag it on for 2 months, just like you would in any Stanley Cup playoffs. And they're going to entertain the hell out of the world because there's not much going on. And the boys are going to be playing, and probably the MLB won't. And they're going to soak up, everybody's attention.
Well, this has been very entertaining. I'm glad we didn't have to get into talking about your cats, but certainly enjoyed the hockey chat, whether it be EIHL or NHL. Really, really enjoyed it. Thanks for taking the time to join us on Off the Ice. This is our last show before a bit of our summer break. Will you join us further down the line for an update on things cat-like and also about the Stanley Cup?
Of course, man. Let me show you something real quick for all the Nottingham Panthers fans right there. You flew that flag back in the playoffs right there, baby. Somebody gave that to me. I want to give them a little shout out. That thing, I got that in my office right now. I love it. And I love all those guys out there, too. You guys were awesome to me. Kate says hi, by the way, to all the lovely people in Nottingham and through Great Britain because I made friends everywhere because that's what we do. So thank you guys for having me on anytime.